seems like a good opportunity to make the point that you must be flexible in your use of module components, namely that you don't use the same combination of components in every module. You've been told that it's important to make sure people understand the relevance of what it is that you're teaching them from their point of view. Watch. This module is about drafting modules. The relevance of it is that if you don't draft a module, you won't have one. Now, there isn't anything really more to say about that. So don't beat a component to death, or don't even use it if it isn't appropriate for what you're trying to accomplish. So let's talk about getting your module put together. If you follow the procedure so far, it will practically write itself. Look, you know who it's for. You've got a target population description. You know where it's going to be used. That is, you've got a learning environment description. You know what it should accomplish. You've got the objective. You know what the content should be. You've got a content summary. You know how it's going to be presented primarily. You've got your delivery system description. And you know where it fits into the rest of your course because you have a hierarchy. What remains is for you to put it together. And that means writing. No matter what form the module is going to take when it's finished, whether it's going to be on video or on computer or in print or in some other combination of things, it begins with writing. Just the way a motion picture script begins with words on paper. So let's get your module drafted. First thing to do is to draft the back end of your module first. If this is the beginning of the module and this is the end, the first thing to do is to draft the back end, namely the practice and the feedback portion. Ask yourself how you would describe to the students what you want them to do. Do you want them to go someplace? Do you want them to use some equipment? Do you want them to use test equipment? Do you need them to find a partner? Write out the directions and build the practice section. To do that, you want to review your objective, your relevant practice summary, and your target population description. Then draft if there's going to be some practice items, draft those practice items. Then draft the beginning of your module. The front end is going to contain the objective. Make sure that it's written in the form that your students will understand. And then somewhere you are going to have something on the issue of relevance. It may not be a whole lot. And then again, you may need to be rather extensive about your explanation of why it's important for students to learn what it is that you're teaching them. Once you've got that done, then review your content summary. Take a look at the items that you've listed there, because now you're going to fill the gap between where the students are when they came into the module and where they need to be before they are ready to practice, that is, before they're ready to enter that practice section that you just put together. And that's going to be about it. Don't be surprised if the module seems to be thinner than you thought it might be. Now, before you do that, there's a couple of common problems I'd like to remind you of because you may be able to avoid them. First off, there's this urge to stuff in all of the content that existed in your existing course, if you have an existing course. But there's always a strong urge to say everything we know about the subject. And there's a couple of ways that we have of justifying this urge. We say, well, students want to know the theory. Or we say, but they want to know the history. Or we've always done it this way. Well, if you feel the urge to stuff in some extra content, here's a couple of clues. First, tell yourself there's a difference between what you do here at the workshop and what you do back on the job. And we've already reminded you of this previously. So tell yourself there's that difference, and while you're here, you're going to keep the module lean, but you're going to keep that extra content handy, and you'll stuff it in when you get home. Second, if your content summary flowed out of your analysis, you can be pretty sure that that module will be close to working. So say to yourself, well, this isn't all that bad. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it a try, and I'm going to take it to tryout. And that should help you to minimize this urge to say everything you know about the subject. The second common problem in module development is the lack of directions. You know, you can almost look at a draft module from across the room and say, you know what that module needs? It needs some more directions. It needs to tell the students what to do, where to go, when to do what. I was working through a module a couple of weeks ago, and in the middle of it, it said, now go watch videotape such and such. And I said to myself, what videotape? I didn't have one there. And I wondered, where do I get this thing? Well, what do I do with it? That is, am I supposed to watch it with somebody? Am I supposed to prepare myself? Am I supposed to watch it with a checklist? There wasn't anything in the way of directions as to what to do. It just said to go and do it. Now, it's fortunate that this problem is easily solved if there are absence of directions. And the reason there's an absence of directions is simply because we get all wrapped up in the content. We get all wrapped up in the things that we're going to teach, and we tend to forget to tell people what to do where. The solution is tryout. Take it to tryout, and that will tell you what you need to do in the way of directions. All right, you're all ready to go. Draft your module and keep it as lean as you possibly can.